This might be the greatest language learning technique of all time. Hi guys, welcome back to Nas Cluelesss podcast. A podcast where we talk about our interests, our hobbies, and much more. In this series, we're going to review some language learning techniques, and we're going to talk about if they actually work or not, and generally what we think about them, would we apply them, and have they benefited us. So I'm Bكري. I'm a self-taught language learner and lover. Along with my girlies, Sajda and Rنيم, we love languages. And it's the thing that actually brought us together. We all study different things that are very distant from languages, apart from Sajda, which specializes in Chinese and English languages. I study Portuguese and Spanish, and Japanese as well, from time to time. And Rنيم specializes in French and Italian. Ooh la la. So, as you can see, we all learn different languages, and we often struggle to find a converging point in our journeys, since all these languages are very different. But we also try to always discuss different techniques and different ways we like to learn these languages. As you can see, we all have different approaches to them. So whether you're learning a language for professional reasons, or you just like learning them for fun, exploring different techniques can be really helpful in your language learning journey to save you time, money, and effort. I myself learn languages for fun. I just love learning about other cultures. But I've only seen improvement in my language learning since I have actually put in the effort to learn how to learn. So this might be like the most high yield tip in language learning. I'm a really great advocate for self-learning, whether you learn in a group, a fancy school, or through YouTube. You are going to stumble upon some difficulties that you will need to be researching yourself. So it's important to know how to navigate these difficulties and kind of go past them. In our research for different ways to learn languages more easily and on your own, asking for help could be a very good strategy, actually. It's very important to ask someone who is more experienced every once in a while. But if you want to speak languages fluently, just like a native speaker, or if you want to learn it for reasons that are gonna require you being actually very competent, fluent, or have real life interaction with native speakers or people who kind of, have different aspects, who have different worldviews from you. Many times we learn a language on a textbook, and then we come to discover that this has nothing to do with what people say in real life. So we stumbled upon this comprehensible input theory, and we thought, that's interesting. So let's talk about it. What is comprehensible input? Basically, it's a theory that claims that if you expose yourself to language learning material that is slightly above your language learning abilities, that is going to improve your language. So the word in itself, comprehensible input. Let's break that down. Input is anything that you put in. That is anything you listen to, the words that you hear from native speakers, the news that you read, etc. So it's anything you get in your target language. And for it to be comprehensible, you have to really understand it. So it's kind of confusing. You say it's comprehensible input, but it's a little bit higher than your level. This theory was initially proposed by Stephen Krishnan. It's called the input hypothesis. It's where he proposed the I+1 model, which is I being you, a language learner, at your current level of language. Say I'm a beginner, and the +1 is the language that you expose yourself to that is slightly more advanced than your current level. That is, in this case, you can be a beginner and you expose yourself to lower intermediate content. Like, for example, listening to a podcast or reading a children's book in this case. You've just started learning the language, you know a bit of grammar, but it just doesn't come up like you expect it to. So you slowly start to read these books and get these new terms into your vocabulary and start understanding how the structure of the language works. And also you expose yourself to some of their values, what these people think. You might encounter some different expressions and even some funny expressions. So this will help form the language in your brain as opposed to just translating material. Just it's what most of us do in the beginning of a language. We get a dictionary, any word that is difficult to us, we just go and think, oh, okay, let me see what toast is in, say, Japanese. Okay, maybe there isn't a word for toast in Japanese. So the best way in this case is to understand how their daily life works, what their beliefs are, how their culture works. This is just an example, guys. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Japanese does have the word toast. Don't come attacking me, please. But the point here is, when you expose yourself to this kind of content in your target language that isn't too hard or too easy, that way you'll kind of be moving forward towards your target fluency or your target level in the language. When you think about it, you feel like that's kind of effortless. I just have to sit back and just listen to thousands of hours of podcasts, movies, and I'll just get fluent. So here's the trick. You actually kind of develop your input, since it's comprehensible input. So when you do that, your listening and speaking skills might just improve very fast using this method. However, you might struggle with your speaking and your writing. So you have to make some balance in this case. Since the whole idea of this is language acquisition. What is language acquisition, by the way? When you learn a language, you consciously go and take classes and study the language, break it down into how you can understand it as a foreign learner. But when you acquire a language, it's kind of when like a 3-year-old just gets exposed to their language, they go to school, they listen to everyone, speaking in these terms, they go home, they speak with their mom, mama, dada, I make coffee, I eat clay. So it's kind of like you are gaining the language in some way without actively doing what other learners typically do. That is by studying books, devouring grammar, etc. And so I think the catch to this is being curious. I feel like what makes this theory more interesting is that it develops your natural curiosity in the language. Since, say, I listen to a 5-minute video on YouTube on, say, football in Spanish. Say I'm learning Spanish and I want to know about the history of football. I find myself understanding up to 60%, 70% of what the presenter is saying, but I don't understand everything. So I will take advantage of this to increase my vocabulary by writing down the phrases and words that I don't understand and asking other people about it. And I feel like in this point, you could actually really use a tutor or, a native speaker. And even if you don't have access to native speakers in your life, where you live, there are plenty of sites and places on the internet where you can literally just go and ask people, okay, what does this mean? Does this just sound right? Um, we will link some down below in the description. But like I said, the whole idea is to take this content, since it's going to be authentic content from real life, not just your typical educational, super simple and broken down language. You're kind of taking advantage of it to develop whichever skill that you're targeting. So, say for listening, you will have a better year every time you listen. And when you come to speak, I feel like you can also take advantage of this by mimicking what these people say. So, how can you find comprehensible input that is suitable to your language and your level? Okay, there are plenty of good resources that will suit you, but initially you have to try a couple once until you know which one works for you. So you can use books and subjects that you're interested in. If you're a beginner, we recommend that you use simple books with simple language, like I said, children's books, or really just go on Reddit or go on Google and just type elementary level your target language books, or simple books. It's also helpful to go on communities like Reddit or Quora and just ask about whichever book you're targeting. Also, you can watch shows, movies. If you like listening to podcasts like me, honestly, podcasts have done me a great deal in my languages. When I started learning Portuguese, I never really studied it, and I think like 97% of my Portuguese learning journey has been comprehensible input. I didn't even know that was a thing back then. So I think that this might be the greatest language learning technique of all time, especially if you want to develop your listening and kind of understand what people are saying when you face difficulty with that. You can also find a topic that you really love talking about, or actually target what you're going to learn. So if you're learning, say, English to become an engineer, look for engineering websites, engineering articles, surround yourself with the whole thing, and use social media because it's really helpful if you're you use social media every day in your life. You can just go and follow everyone who is speaking that language, and yeah, it will do you wonders. If you just spend hours scrolling on social media, you might as well do it in your target language. So comprehensible input can be found anywhere, literally. But also some people specialize in making comprehensible input content that will suit you. You can literally find recordings for hours and hours, and people kind of, have an index for that thing as well. So if you, learn for 200 hours, you're this kind of fluent. And if you learn for 1,000 hours, you're that close to fluency in this language. You can also just Google them, right? Your target language, and comprehensible input content. So you will get what you desire. And so you can really just find what suits you and stick to it. Consistency is the most important factor in trying to adhere to any technique. You have to consistently stick to a plan until you know if it works for you or not. So, yeah, like I said, some people actually measure this by doing some hourly counts that you should spend at least 40 hours listening to a certain language, say English, in order to know if this could work for you or not, if it actually benefits you. But I think it's always beneficial to kind of, get exposed to a language, because this is, this is how you can actually form it in your head, So I've been on Reddit just kind of like eavesdropping on the people there. What do they think? Like, what's their experience with this method? And I think it's kind of interesting what people have said about it. Some people say it's like it's really done them magic, and it's been wonderful in their language learning journey. It's really advanced their levels, helped them get jobs, etc. You know, some of them have been even living abroad in countries that spoke the language, but you know, they haven't been adapting much until they kind of started applying this comprehensible input theory in their lives. And others said it isn't really that useful to them. And obviously it's a subjective thing, you know, because they think you should actually learn the typical, you should do the typical language learning step by step, school system. First, you have to learn the grammar, know the essentials, just artificially develop the language first, then expose yourself to, native content or whatever. In my opinion is that it's really variable to people, and it really depends on your language learning goals and your language learning journey. But overall, I would recommend this for anyone to do. And we're going to link down below all the input methods that we use, all the resources that we use for comprehensible input in all our target languages. So I'm also curious to know about your experience with comprehensible input. Do you guys think it works? Have you tried it before? How has it helped you in your language learning journey? If you haven't tried it out, would you try it out? And just let us know what language learning techniques you would like to listen about, you would like us to review or to just critique. There are plenty of hypotheses that go side by side with this language learning technique about how people learn languages and etc. And I think if you're just a person who just learns languages and isn't concerned with all the fancy scientific details, it's just up to you to be consistently, updated and see what people are talking about. Join the communities. It really helps level up your language. Thank you guys for listening. It has been great hosting this episode, and I really want to hear your opinions about it, guys. Just write us in the comments. Also, follow us on Twitter, on TikTok to see what's happening, what's new with the podcast. Tell us whatever you want to hear about. Also, email us if you have any suggestions or if you want to collaborate with us or support us. Also, we have a Telegram community. I don't know if you guys have joined us yet or not. Just get in. Introduce yourself. We are there, okay? We want to get to know you. Just go and tell us all about you, all about your language learning journey. And we have other communities as well. If you're interested in our other topics, just go in there and be the language nerd you are made to be, okay? It's a really awesome journey, honestly, when you find people who are interested in the same thing as you are. We are there to answer your questions, to support you, to send funny memes. Just be part of our community. Trying this technique can be a bit challenging at first. It can be a bit confusing. You can just go and, talk about it with us and with everyone else there. And, we can all discuss our challenges and how we got over them. I know you just chose to learn a language, and it's a very challenging thing, but you are in it to win it, okay? Thank you again for listening, and see you later on other episodes, inshallah. This is gonna be a whole series, so let us know what you struggle with in your language learning journey and what other language learning techniques you would love us to talk about. And always remember to stay Nas Cluelesss. We are just 3 Sudanese girls trying to make it in life.